Welcome to the Brave Files. I'm delighted to have you here today because we are chatting with Gia Duke, who has made it her business to help others grow a heart-centered business and life. We talk about creating impactful and meaningful communities that can truly make a difference, and how once we grow in this way, we're constantly improving the world around us. This is such a fun and heart-filled conversation, which also offers easily actionable tips to help you build a more heart-centered business and life. Stick around for this fun conversation.
Empathy, matter, fun.
This is Heather Vickery, and you're listening to The Brave Files, stories from people living courageously. When we choose bravely in big and small ways, it powerfully elevates our lives. I hope these stories connect with you and encourage you to embrace bravery in every possible way, day after day. Together, we can build a movement of courageous living that enriches both our lives and our communities. And if you enjoy the show, I ask you to please share it with others. Maybe think of someone who you want to choose bravely right alongside you. Thanks for tuning in. Now here's the show. Hey everybody, this is Heather Vickery. Welcome to the Brave Files. Today's guest is a girl after my own heart. After spending a large portion of her life running from cause to cause, doing whatever she could to help, she realized that there were too many causes and only one her. Gia Duke felt like she couldn't help fast enough, and there was always more work to be done, no matter how hard she worked and tried. Eventually, she hit what she calls compassion exhaustion. Gia's here today to tell us about her journey to focus her energy on the one or two causes she's most passionate about and how she gets paid for giving back, which is pretty cool. All of us here at the Brave Files love this idea, of course, because we're also dedicated to giving back and strengthening the community. Gia, welcome to the show.
Hi, Heather. I'm so happy to be here. Yay.
I'm happy to have you here too. And you are a fan of the show, so that's always extra fun.
I'm a fan, super fan.
Thank you for that.
Yes.
I appreciate it. When I was a little kid, my stepdad used to say I was a Save the Whales kind of girl.
Oh, my mom was a Save the Whales girl.
Was she? Well,
yes.
And it's funny. It wasn't particularly whales, but what he meant was it was always others. It was always giving back. It was always charity. And it's a pretty accurate statement. And it sounds like you were kind of the same kind of person growing up.
You know, it's funny. I look back. I don't know that I was that. I wasn't the little girl that went out and put a lemonade stand on the street corner and raised money. My journey came later. I think my thing came from I was a person who just noticed other people a lot, and noticed when I always have a hard time articulating this, but I like being around different kinds of people.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and so I'm very curious about people, and I noticed people and observed a lot, and I would often, if someone wasn't doing well, like in school, or I had a friend having a hard time, I tried to do what I could to help them or support them, even sometimes without, telling them, just being a good friend or reaching out to somebody. So I think that's more who I was rather than the Save the Whales, even though I was for that. And I loved helping. My mom wrote letters to Greenpeace, and she'd tell me about it, and I loved it. Well, she wouldn't write. She'd type on her typewriter, which is right next to me right now.
Oh,
yeah.
That's sweet. Yeah.
That. So I had that upbringing and loved animals and all those things, but I wasn't the lemonade stand girl.
Okay. All right. Well, that's fascinating because that isn't the impression I got from the communication we've had before. But what I heard you say is that you're empathetic, that you could sense somebody's needs, and the most helpful types of people don't say, okay, I'm going to help you now. They just help.
Right.
I love that. So tell us a little bit more about that and sort of getting in touch with that in college and sort of what your progression has been. Yeah.
So when I went to college, I thought it would be really cool. And this was 20 years plus ago.
And been there, done that.
Yeah, right. And it was, and there weren't all that, like I look at kids nowadays and all the options they have. And like for my son, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so many amazing creative jobs out there. But when we went to school, it was like, I thought I kind of wanted to be, if I had a dream job, like a spokesperson for a really cool organization. That's kind of what I saw myself
spokesperson.
Right? that? Like, what do you call it? I don't know. That's what I used to
It's
say.
great. I love it.
Right. And so it was like an advocate. Like, I just want to be
Yeah.
the person that I could get on stage and help somebody raise money or shout really loud for a cause, and kind of in an activist way, but also in a like, let's change the world way.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what I wanted. But I didn't know that job or description. It wasn't like a thing at my school. And I started actually in broadcasting and then got in a journalism class and said, ooh, I don't like writing at all. I don't want to pitch someone else's story. I don't want to stay in this world. I'm out. And so it's really funny how, your course goes. So I went into education and I got a degree in elementary education. And both my parents were teachers. My mom was a speech therapist, my dad a high school teacher, counselor. And so it kind of made sense. But I also, there was a creative part, there's a giving back part, working with kids that I loved. And so I went down that route and I kind of taught in numerous ways. I taught gymnastics, I substitute taught. It took me a while to get a job. And in the meantime, I actually went and worked for a values-driven company. I worked for Patagonia. Do you know Patagonia?
Oh, I do. I was at a really incredible conference this past March.
Yeah.
And Patagonia did this whole display about how their culture and how they care for their employees. It's incredible.
Right?
I love that you
Right.
worked with them.
I did a very short time. They had just opened their distribution center in Reno, where I had just moved, chasing my boyfriend, now husband. And so I was like, oh my gosh, here's this really cool company I've heard about. I don't care what I do. I remember I said that at my interview. I'm like, I just want to work for you. Basically like, hi, I'm your spokesperson, but that's not what you're hiring me for. So I did customer service, which was hilarious, selling, when people would call on the, to order off a catalog, I would answer the phone.
Nice.
You're right. But the people I was with were the same kind of people, heart-based people, and people that cared about the environment and the earth and the planet and
each
outdoor
other.
enthusiasts and each other. It was just a really cool environment.
Yeah. Were you in their actual offices or did you?
Yeah,
work
it was.
remotely?
Well, in Reno, they had a distribution center. So
Okay,
it was a
right.
huge facility where they did all the shipping and customer service was upstairs. And yeah, so it wasn't their headquarters where Yvonne Chenard, the founder,
I mean,
is.
their
Yeah.
headquarters are crazy. They have a boardroom that's full of surfboards.
Right. Yeah,
And,
that kind of stuff was everywhere. And that's exactly, people showed up. You could go to work barefoot and shorts,
And a daycare. Did they have that even at the distribution center?
oh gosh, I don't remember. I didn't have kids then. I don't
was so
remember.
cool.
I
Right, so
feel
people
like
could
maybe they
leave.
did.
Yeah, they could go and feed their babies or check in on
Oh, yeah.
them, and
Oh, yeah.
it's just crazy. I love
Community.
that. Yeah,
For sure.
Well, they always say their retention is like 98%. So why did you leave?
Well, I was doing customer service.
Because it's the second job.
So I didn't really want to answer phones forever, and I
Gotcha.
didn't. And it wasn't my. I still wanted to teach. I was trying to get a teaching job.
Right.
So yeah, so I really wanted to get in a classroom, and so I. That's why I left. I ended up substitute teaching, and then getting hired to be a teacher for a short time. Then got laid off. It was kind of where I was living in the mount. I lived in Truckee in the mountain town, and it was like people never leave the job, so you have to kind of wait for somebody to retire or something to open to get in. And so you'd get hired and then red slipped and then hired, and so it's kind of like that.
Yeah.
So that's in a way, like I think I would have been super satisfied being a teacher. I loved it, but it led me on a different journey because I ended up not going back to teaching.
And so where did you go instead?
So I started doing, it was a great dog community, animal community, and we didn't have a shelter. And so I started working for the Humane Society, volunteering, I should say, for the Humane Society. And I just got started with that, and I've always loved animals. So I started with that, doing, helping them. I got on their board, helped them raise funds, doing adoption days. Then we ended up with, eventually 3 dogs.
Of course.
Fostering leads to forever, right? And did work with them. And then I ended up having a baby. And so I was a stay-at-home mom. And then I ended up, while I was stay-at-home mom, then I went to one of those home parties people do. Like there was one for another values-driven company called The Body Shop. Do you know?
Oh, yeah.
The Body Shop? Okay. So I didn't really know their products or anything, but I went for like a mom's night out and needed a break.
Okay.
Baby break, and went out, and there was a brochure on the table, Heather, and it was this woman's face I'd never seen, and she's the founder of the company. Her name's Anita Roddick. Are you familiar with her?
I'm not.
Amazing woman. You might want to check her out. She's awesome. Huge activist back in her day. So she's the founder and the creator of the Body Shop. And she's the one who made the skincare company, but it was backed by these 5 core values. So it was kind of like Patagonia.
Yeah.
Right. And they did no animal. What made them really huge is they were against animal testing and hiring out other companies that would test on animals, because that's a big thing. Not everybody knows. Deal. Right.
And doing that and being willing to it affects your profit margin. It affects, like, it's interesting that you say that. My partner just had something very similar come up in her business life. She's an entrepreneur also. And as entrepreneurs, we never want to turn business away. She's at a program that does employee-based training on LGBTQ awareness, especially trans awareness.
Okay. And
she gets a call from a client. We've seen your stuff. We are approved to buy this entire product from you. We're very excited. And that's great. She sends an invoice. And then she finds out, just like an hour later, she reads an article about the top 10 companies that earn money from supporting ICE. And it was the number 1 company. And she said, I can't work with you.
Right.
I can't do it. I cannot work with people who support, locking people up and separating children. I can't.
Right.
I can't do it. Anyway, so values-based, right? It's hard. But I love that the Body Shop did that, that they would not hire out companies that didn't fit their moral standards and values as well.
And it was huge. This was in the 70s.
I know, right? Everybody was doing
it. That's why she's like, people teach college classes on her.
That's great.
She was like, and she had a bigger mission too of like eradicating poverty in the world was her big goal. And so, I just jumped in and started working for this company and started doing home parties then, because I thought, oh my gosh, these are like my personal values tied up in a company. And now I get to be, I'm laughing, I've never told the story this way, but now I'm like a spokesperson. I'm like, in people's homes, they invite me in, right? In a nice way. I mean, I'm not giving a speech, but you get women together, you have a great night, you have a great time. But I can educate people and teach them things I learned that you don't always know. Like, if you're going to buy one of 2 products and one does good in the world and one doesn't, like, I would hope most people would choose the one that does good and is good for you.
As long as they know.
As long as they know.
They care enough to find out. Yeah.
Right. And so that was really cool, but not like my dream job by any means. It was just kind of an avenue. And really, I was drawn to the founder, to Anita, and kind of just diving into that. And so what I ended up doing then, and which was not conventional with my work, I ended up turning it into a fundraising tool.
Okay, that's great.
So and it started, a little boy was killed in our community. Writing his big will was horrible because there was no playground in the area where they lived. And I heard that story, and I was at a convention for the Body Shop, and they were talking about, your big goals and setting your sales goals, and, put a goal down on a piece of paper. What's one thing you want to do? And I remember writing, like, this has nothing to do with my work, but everything to do with why I'm here.
Yeah.
And I wrote, I want to see if I can do something to help. They were trying to build a playground for this community. And so I wrote that down, and I went home and called, used a phone, called the local paper and said, how can I help? What's happening? And so I did my first fundraiser Body Shop party. So I just told people the story. Most people in the town had heard of it and said, here's why I'm passionate about it. I want to invite you over to a night to go shopping, and I'm donating the proceeds.
That's awesome.
To it. Yeah. And it just kind of spiraled from there. And it was so fantastic for me because it was an easy way for me to have structure, but a tool for me to make a difference in causes that I cared about and to people in our community or around the world. And so I continued doing that kind of work. And it was even at first kind of frowned upon from the company.
Oh, really? I wonder why. Yeah.
Well, it was hard because you're dealing with numbers people who want sales, and they didn't like me teaching my team that you can give your money away.
But why do they care? I mean, the sales are the sales. They still make their profit.
Right. Because you end up in a leader role, kind of like, and so they were saying, I don't know this. And I kept trying to explain to them. And eventually I did get to know people because I was recognized eventually by getting an award called the Profits with Principles Award.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it was super cool to be nominated. But what was really, really cool was I got to meet Anita Roddick because of it.
That is super cool.
Super cool. So she was like the first person, like activist real person I met, where I was like, oh my gosh, I think you feel like I feel like you. I didn't have
I love
anyone
it.
like that in my life.
So you did that for a while, and then
I did.
eventually you started your own nonprofit, right?
I did. I did.
Tell us about
Yeah.
that.
So my husband and I were going to adopt our a second child from, we had Tobin, and then I birthed Tobin, and then we were going to adopt a second child from foster care. And during the process, you have to go through a big training. And in the second training, I started learning about foster care, like really in depth. And I just sat there, and I don't know if you can imagine the videos that they would show you.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Right? So I was a puddle of tears and was like, oh my gosh, I mean, I knew about foster care, but this is like, where are the spokespeople? Who is talking about this? And there's so many kids, like I have to do more. And so I told my husband, he's used to me, so he just goes with it. And he was great either way. And I told our social worker, like, okay, let's keep going. And if this works out great and we have a great, there's a connection with the child, we're going to adopt. I want to keep going, but at the same time, this is bugging me. I think I might have to do something else. And so that's where it started. So I decided to table the adoption. We went through the whole thing, got certified as a family. But in the meantime, I dove into research for the foster care system and tried to go find people who grew up in it or lived in it. I went to conferences, things like that, and said, what can I do? What's missing? How can I help?
I love that. You had mentioned that one of your favorite episodes of this show was the interview with Paula Creed-Smith. Now I know why.
Remind me of that one. I did say that. I was going to go back. I listened to that a while ago.
Yeah. So she's the one that grew up and aged out of the foster care system.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's why. It was kind of crazy because I lived in, like I said, a small mountain town, and there weren't local foster children. Not that they weren't there, but if they were there weren't foster families, so they'd get placed in homes outside the county. And so I was trying to build something in an area where the population in need didn't exist. So it was kind of crazy, but I was so passionate about it, and I thought, I'm not the only one. If I start telling people about this, I really believed other people would care.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? And so I made but I also was smart about it, and I used kind of my teaching, everything, and I said, I'm going to make a creative arts wilderness retreat.
That's so cool.
So because we lived, and I don't know if you know Truckee, it's Lake Tahoe.
Okay.
Is right where, yeah. So it's a mountain town. It's like people come there. The Olympics were held there.
Yeah. Right.
So it's a huge outdoors community, and people are so passionate about it. And there's a lot of artists there too. And what's lacking in the school system, as we know, is getting outside, exercise, and creative arts. It's the things that get cut from programs. And so I thought, oh, yay, I think we can do this. And they're also the things that make a difference in my life. So that's what I did. So I spent the next couple of years actually figuring out how to start a nonprofit. And I decided to do that because I thought I could make more money because I could apply for grants and things like that. I had no degree in this, mind you. There
are a lot of ways to learn, though. So.
Right. Barnes & Noble, How to Start a Nonprofit Guide for Dummies. That was my handbook.
That's awesome.
Handbook. So, yeah, I don't know where you want me to keep going. It worked. It was like I said, I got to look at who wrote that book and write them a huge thank you
I know,
letter.
That's funny. So is this program, first of all, what's the program called?
It's called Remix.
Okay. So is the Remix program for all children, or was it a program specifically for children in the foster care system?
Just children in the foster care system.
And if they weren't in your community, how are you reaching them?
Well, it was through my social worker that we were working with.
Okay.
So I built relationships so I ended up working with that agency and telling them what I'm doing because it was a really tricky thing. I say it's like, what did I used to say? It's like one of the most untouchable populations, right? Like it's hard to get in front of foster kids. Yeah. Because they're protected. They're like the most, that's what it is, unprotected, protected group of people.
Right.
Right.
That's such a visualization there. The unprotected, protected.
Right. And no kid and kids don't want to be labeled as foster kids, rightly so.
Not.
They want to be kids. They're just kids.
Yeah.
And so it was I had a lot of people tell me it wouldn't work. I had people that knew what they were talking about that told me it wouldn't work.
Did it work?
It worked.
Does it still work?
No, I ended up closing the doors because we moved.
Okay.
And I was a one-woman show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
See, that makes you the poster child for I teach delegation, delegation, delegation. This is why
Oh.
you shouldn't do it all by yourself because you can't keep going. You might have been able to if you'd had a support system and team with you.
Well, I could have. Well, that's why I said if we didn't move, we moved to San Francisco, so we moved 4 hours, so 3.5 hours away. So if I didn't move, I would have. I was starting to get that, like you run your first program, and I'd hired people. So don't get me wrong.
Okay.
I hired people to run the retreat.
Right, of course. Right? You couldn't be the only one with a bunch of kids.
I didn't run the river rafting ropes course. Not my skill set. I know when to hire out.
I didn't mean it that way. I just meant like bringing people in from the admin end of it, right?
Oh
Obviously,
my gosh. I would, yeah. I wanted so badly to have, I mean, that was the biggest painful thing. It was like 4 or 5 years of my life of like me putting all the hats and trying to find, begging people to give me part of their time. And people were really excited about it, but people had their lives and their jobs. And to get someone to start on the ground level is you got to find the right person.
So you moved and you had to unfortunately close this program, which it sounds like it was wonderful and touched
amazing.
A lot of kids' lives. What you're the creator of the Revolution Super Love movement. I love the name of it. I don't even know what that is. I really need to know though, because it sounds like Woodstock.
It sounds like what?
Woodstock.
Oh, Woodstock. I know. I kind of pulled away a little bit. I know, because the whole Super Love, I just used to talk about that. And I did a whole year of sending Super Love shout outs and would highlight people. And I said, let's start a movement, the Revolution Super Love. But it does have that hippie vibe, right? So really what it is just, I pictured it like I was a cheerleader, and I own it, very much so. And I was a college cheerleader, so that was a big deal, actually. So I, like the wave. You know the wave?
Yeah.
At a game, football or any game. Right. So I pictured it like that, with a bunch of people all around the world, all walks of life, doing one intentional act of kindness, going from one person to the next, raising their hand, like on a wave across the world. Yeah.
I love that. How did it work? How did it play out?
Well, it really just kind of is. I write about it in my book. I'm like, this is it. We're doing it. Let's keep going. Let's do Revolution Super Love. Who wants to join in?
Yeah,
so it's kind of the community I'm creating.
Tell us about your book and how we can all get involved in Revolution Super Love, because I'm in.
Yeah, your kind of people are the people we need. Yeah. So I wrote a book, came out in October, called Get Your Heart On.
Awesome, and congrats, because it's hard to write a book.
Oh my gosh, yes. And the tagline to that is the how-to guide for people that want to make a difference. So where to start, what to do, and how to kick ass along the way.
That is so cool.
So that is the book. And it's basically my work now. So I say I help people who want to help people. That's like the simple version. So people that want to make a difference in the world.
I love that so much.
Yeah. So people that want to make a difference in their own way. And I think that in their own way is really important, because it gets rid of all the preconceived ideas of what people might have of what giving back means. Like, I don't have time. It busts all the myths.
Yep,
so
absolutely.
Right? So it's however it fits into your lifestyle. So, and I had a friend, or a woman I met this summer. She said, I told her the name in the book, and she said, oh, you wrote the Help book. I'm like, oh my gosh, I love that. That's exactly what it is. It's
that
not
is
self-help.
cool.
It's the help book.
It's the help book.
The help book.
Very quickly, because we have so many folks who have a book in them and they're not quite sure how to pull it out.
Oh, goodness.
Can you quickly share with us sort of what your writing process was like? I'd love to ask this question.
I know you do. And I was laughing. I'm like, my answer is not conventional.
It's okay. That's why we ask. It would be so boring if everybody had the same answer.
I know, but I struggled. Okay, maybe I can help someone that was like me listening right now, because I so badly wanted the method. I wanted the structure. And here's my thing. Just write. That's what I had to do. Write. I did not have structure. I did not write in order. Yeah. I wrote, it won't be surprising if you see my book, and there's previews of it. I wrote in short, everything's in short little paragraphs.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's so much easier to read that way.
Yeah, it's very like, remember I was an elementary school teacher. It's full of visuals and cartoons. I had a doodle artist and quotes. And so my process was just writing. I had to write in my own voice, my own style. I didn't edit as I went, because that wastes time.
You never should, I don't think.
Some people do, though, and you can get really caught up in it.
Oh, yeah. That's
right?
scary.
In that whole, like, making it perfect, because I chopped so much of it. If I'd done that, I'd still be working on it. And I worked on it for over 2 years. So...
So how much time did you commit every day to writing?
I didn't do it that way.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was my other thing. I tried. That's kind of how I am as a creative person, though.
All right, fair enough.
If I'm not in the mood, it doesn't really work for me. And so, but when I'm in the mood, I can write for 24 hours straight. So I just go. I would try to go often. I went to coffee shops. So
Yeah.
I'd get out of my house
Change
and
your
I would
pace.
sit and I get inspired by people buzzing around me. And again, my work, remember I told you I like being around different types of people.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
San Francisco's fantastic
Oh, I love
place
San
for me to
Francisco.
create, right? Yeah. And so I'd go to coffee shops and I would just start writing and I would get inspired and then I'd write a snippet. And then pretty soon it started to kind of turn into something. Does that
Good for
help
you.
with my process?
It does. No, it's a great process. And I love that. Again, I ask questions like this and I ask similar questions every week because all of the answers are different and all of our
Yeah.
listeners are different and how we want to approach our problems or approach bravery or writing or trying something new. Everybody's going to come at it from a different perspective. And hopefully, hearing all of you awesome people share the way you tried something will light a fire in them and ignite something. So,
Right.
I dig it. As you're moving through this, and now you're helping people who want to help, and you're doing all of this cool stuff, and you have this wonderful movement. What's been the most difficult thing for you to overcome?
Oh, goodness. Wanting to quit.
Right. Thank you for being that honest. Talk to me about that for a second.
Yeah, I think it's huge. In fact, one of my words I almost was going to share was lonely.
It is lonely.
Yeah, and I think that's when you're and you're going to have people that get what I'm talking about. But when you're empathy driven and we're seeing it more and more just because of the way we have access to news now. And I don't watch the news actually. It's not good for me.
No, I
But-
just read it. I don't watch
And
it.
I barely read it. I can do snippets and then my husband will tell me if I need to know something.
It's like the oxygen mask. Like just you got to survive. You
Right.
got to get through it.
Right. And so it's been super hard and it's super hard. Like a few weeks ago I was looking for jobs.
So
yeah.
But what, right? Is it for me? I've been an entrepreneur
Yeah.
for 23 years, and there have been a very few handful of times where I've been like, "Screw it, I'm out."
Yes.
But I'm able to avoid that for the most part. But what is it that happens with you where you go, "I got to look for a job"?
I think well, I can just speak because it was recent. I lost what I call my heart reason. And I think it was like part of it was launching the book and then all of a sudden that's done. Like
No.
this
It's like
hardcore
letdown.
focus. Not even letdown. It was just like such a focused purpose. And then actually, honestly, a bunch of grief hit me because I started writing my book because my mom had dementia for 10 years. And so I started writing to heal. And
I'm so
it's
sorry.
not what, oh, thank you. Thank you. It's horrible. And so I think as soon as it launched, it was like, yay. And then it was like crash. And I didn't really express what was happening to people. So, and it was a good 6-month crash.
Yeah.
So, and I just wrote this in October, it came out. And so I'm kind of coming out the other side and trying to kind of reassess like what's my direction. Even though I know where I want to go, I'm trying to tap back into, like what I say, my heart reason, like my deeper, because that's always
deeper
my
why.
driver.
Yeah.
My driver is that, like it was with foster kids, I printed their pictures out and put them on my wall. And so I need that back. And it's back. It just came back.
It came back. So can you tell us, I mean, that's what I help people do is discover their why, like really truly understand what they want and why they want it. And
Yes.
then we systematically make a plan to go and get it and get into action.
Right.
But first you got to figure it out. And that's a muddled process. So will you share your why with us?
Well, it's not one thing. I'm starting a podcast as my next journey.
Congrats.
Thank you. Thank you. And I wanted to do it I've started actually numerous. I kind of did a show like 4 years ago, but it's all the same topic. But what happened was I'm going to tell you about him at the end, but it's a specific charity cause.
Okay.
And I want to support him. And I was like, oh my God, he needs to be on my show. So my show is going to be the same name as my book, Get Your Heart On. And it's the same
I love it.
topic and everything. And I want to bring, it's not just guests, but people that are making a difference in the world in their own way and tell their stories. And I thought by me not doing this, my heart reason is that, again, circling spokesperson in me that wants to help them share their stories. I've never told this one. You're going to be like, Gia, what did you do?
No, I love it.
I'm cracking up. I think I'm just realizing this. I'm actually doing the thing.
I love it.
The career I was looking for.
I love it that this is a conduit for you realizing like, oh, I've manifested this my whole life and now here it is.
Right? I know. It's pretty funny. I'm laughing at myself.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's really just my heart reason is I have to.
Yeah.
It's how can I not? How can I? I'm so passionate. Like if I saw you at the coffee shop today, I would pour my heart out and tell you about him.
So, all right, well, we're going to get there. So we're going to get there. You can tell us all about it. So you've had the ups and downs and you've done all of these cool things and you've worked for all these different great companies and started businesses and all of this. You know, it's a lot to maintain. Does it feel like brave work to you?
Yes. I hadn't thought about it that way. Yes and no, I should say. I don't.
It's okay to just say yes, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I hadn't until your show. You really made me think about what brave is.
Oh,
and I think it's totally brave to follow. Yeah. So to follow my heart and to keep going and listen to my gut.
It is. Yeah. And you're leading the way. You're giving other people permission to do the same thing, which is such a gift. Mm. So speaking of gifts, how do you celebrate? So let's think, and I meant to ask you this earlier and I forgot. Did you end up fostering a child?
No. We decided not to. I knew me and I knew I could either do either or in that circumstance.
And you chose the business. Understood.
And I chose
okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you built this very successful remix program. You've written a book. You've started the Revolution Super Love movement. How do you, and I'm sure there are a million wonderful things each day that happen. And, you know, we all have things that make each day not so wonderful. But how do you celebrate the good things and the successes in your life?
I love this question. I think it's so important. My celebrations are really small. They're like,
mine too, usually.
Yeah, they're more me screaming, jumping up and down, and like I thought about what did I do when my book arrived? Like it came in the mail, and I was like, oh my god! I like ran down my hallway, my dog chasing me, and we're like jumping in the living room with my dog. Like,
that's awesome!
I did it. You know, there are things like that. I love turning on music and dance partying it out. And just pumping my fist in the air and seeing, you know, like, yeah, you know, I did that. I'm so happy or proud of myself right now. And
you should be.
Those little things like that. And then sometimes they're quiet celebrations. Like I just smile to myself and go, all right, I'm acknowledging me at this moment. Mm-hmm.
I love that so much because so many folks don't pause to just absorb it and soak it in. And when we constantly push towards the next goal and the next thing, we get tired, we get burnt out. We need that sacred rest that the episode with Sandra Dalton Smith talked about, right? Because it's rejuvenating to celebrate and to honor these moments. And there's gratitude in that. Do you have a gratitude practice?
I don't have a practice. I love that you have a journal. And I was like, I always wanted to be that girl and I've tried it so many times. I remember when Oprah did those, you know, and I was like, ooh, I'm going to go be like Oprah. I'm going to write in my bed and every night before I go to sleep, and it lasts like 4 days and then it's done. And so, but what I do, I don't think of it as a practice. I think it's just what I do. And I integrate it throughout my day. So I think about gratitude like pretty much all the time.
Me too.
Yeah. And so when I'm on a walk or a jog or out in nature, I'm just super grateful. And sometimes I'll say things out loud, you know, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful. Like I'm in these beautiful trees right now that I have fresh air to breathe and that I've got my puppy with me and my amazing husband and son and those things, my health. And one thing I do because of your show, I was thinking, what do I do that is kind of a gratitude practice? I love when I think of somebody, I'm the girl that will like call you.
I love that.
And I may not have talked to you in 10 years.
That's absolutely an expression of gratitude. I think that's so great.
I love doing that. And like, you know, I don't care how long it's been or send you a text and just be like, oh my God, you're on my mind. So I know it's been 20 years, but hi, I'm thinking of you. So
I'll bet you that has such an impact on the lives of the people you express that to. What a gift. I dig it.
Thanks.
All right. Well, now you can share with us because I'm going to ask you what your favorite charitable organization is to support.
Oh.
And you've been teasing us. So share it with us.
Well, just because it's new, I'm like, I'm kicking my show off for Paul. Well, the first one I have to shout out to, I know there's two or one that you're going to highlight, but I have to give a shout out to Montana Wilderness School.
Okay.
And my brother is the co-founder of this, and they are
hey.
doing such an amazing job. Hey, Gar. It's an outdoor education program in Bozeman, and they just provide these empowering wilderness retreats for kids, for youth. So, and awesome. Shout out to Montana Wilderness School. But the project I want you to highlight is called Project Open Paw, like dog paw.
Okay.
Run by this amazing, big-hearted man. Oh my gosh, his name is Paul, his cutest dog, Yankee. And what he is doing, he's soloing, I don't know if he's volunteering, but I think he is dedicating to feeding and taking care of the furry friends on the streets.
Oh, the homeless furry friends.
The homeless furry friends. And so he actually has a GoFundMe that he ran a few years ago, so you can check out his whole story and see his video. But he does an amazing, if any of you are on Instagram, Facebook, he has a shop now button, and they have like a wish list. But if you're on Instagram, I follow him. That's how I found his GoFundMe, and then loved his story, and then went to his Instagram, and he posts daily all his little doggy stories. So you get to know all the dogs on the street, and you see Paul walk up with his dog Yankee and bringing them snacks and bags of food, and if they need vet care, he raises money to get them to the vets, and then he'll show you the vet visits and the doggy baths, and he's so kind with a community of people that he doesn't show their faces. He's really respectful, but you can hear them talking, and he's just a part of making San Francisco amazing. And another side of the homeless community we don't always think about are their companions that we all love and need.
I love that. Well, so quickly, what is his Instagram handle?
He's Project Open Paw everywhere.
Okay. Awesome. Yep. And we'll have links to that in the show notes. And, I don't know, you guys are going to have to go and find out, but I imagine there's a way for you to get involved no matter where you live to be part of a project like this. So learn about them. If you have something to share it. At the very least, tell other people about the program. It's, these are the things that make us stronger as a community, as a world, and as individuals as well. When we put other things before ourselves, not always. We want you to care for yourself, but come together as a community. So thank you for sharing that so much, Gia.
Thank you for asking. I'm so excited. He's so grateful. I told him I was going to share his story. Hopefully lots of people will check it out.
Gia, can you share your 3 words with us one last time?
I will. Empathy, matter, and fun.
And I think that you've covered that. We identified very early on that you are super empathetic. And when you say matter, you mean do the things that matter to you.
Kind of both. I think I heard you say you have a tattoo. Is that correct? What does it say?
It says be here now.
That's right. Okay, so mine is a tattoo on my wrist that says matter. And that was why I got it, was basically what you're saying, to matter, to be right here. It's facing me so I could see it. And I put it on when I was my son was really little and doing the nonprofit, and I felt scattered. And it was also the bigger word of what it means to matter in the world and who I am as a person and people I'm with.
That's so cool. I love it. And you have a lot of fun. You love everything you're doing.
I think fun is so key. And with all this heavy, heart work can be really heavy. And a lot of books are really heavy on the subject. And I love to integrate fun and play. And I think it's so important for our spirit. And so fun is a big part of who I am and all my work and how I like to do this. It doesn't have to just be sad and daunting. I think we need the fun to counter it.
I agree. Have a lot of fun for sure. Well, I'm delighted that you've been here. You remind us that you can follow your heart and you can manifest your dreams, maybe even if you don't realize that's what you're doing. But the energy you put out creates matter. How about that? And it creates change. And so whatever your dreams are, listeners, they're achievable. And the path may not look like what you imagined it would look like, but just keep doing the work, following your heart and being centered, and magical things are going to happen.
Yes. Agree.
Gia, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. Such an honor to be on your show.
It was great to have you. Speaking of giving back, it's one of my core values. It's literally listed on my business website. It's one of the reasons that we do this podcast. I've built all of the things around the idea that we're obligated to help make the world a better place. It's one of the reasons that 10% of all of our Patreon funds go towards charity. We have a different charitable organization every month. Well, hopefully, if you've been listening to this episode, that's reason enough to head on over and sign up to be a member of our Brave community. And if it's not enough, that's okay. No shame, no blame. Go ahead and take a look at all the awesome swag that our patrons get. And there's some cool stuff, even for as little as $4 a month. I have some big plans, friends. And in order to grow the Brave Files and do extraordinary outreach, we need your support. So visit patreon.com/bravefiles and join us today. And I'd love to know what you think of the show. Feedback matters. So give us a call at 312-646-0205 and let us know what you think. Really, close out your podcast app and go call and tell me what you think of the show. Thank you so much for being here. I'm honored always. I am delighted that Gia was here. I love that you all listen and tune in every single week. This is Heather Vickery reminding you today and always to go out and choose bravely. Today's show was brought to you by Audible. Audible is offering our listeners a free audiobook with a 30-day trial membership. Just go to audibletrial.com/thebravefiles and browse their unmatched selection of audio programs. Download a title of your choice for free and start listening. It's that simple. Just head to audiotrial.com/thebravefiles. You've been listening to The Brave Files, stories from people living courageously. To learn more about the show, find our show notes, or get some great bonus content, visit thebravefilespodcast.com. And we'd love to know what you think. You can give us a call at 312-646-0205. Let us know your thoughts on the episode, the show in general, or maybe share with us how you're out choosing bravely. This episode is brought to you by Vickery & Co. Success Coaching, coaching that helps you maintain a life well lived and a business well run. Learn more at vickeryandco.com. Our music is produced by Matt Lewis. Follow him on Instagram at mattmmusic or visit his website, theunionband.com. We couldn't do any of this without our extraordinary audio engineer, Andrew Olson. Learn more about him and check out his work at findandrewolson.com. And special thanks to our associate producer, Kim Statler. I'm your host and executive producer, Heather Vickery. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next week.